The departmental government delivered the first report on the return to on-site classes in the Archipelago Department.
Last July, the return to on-site classes began in the department. The Secretary of Education delivered today the first report on the progress achieved in the back-to-back school process.
So far, the report is positive. We have had requests from parents on the issue of schedules, but they have also understood that we cannot offer a full day of classes due to the issue of capacity. We cannot offer a full day due to the issue that we must guarantee school meals. I cannot have a student attending more than 4 hours of classes if I am not delivering school meals. We have had to analyze all these situations.
All total educational institutions in the department start classes. Some schools have not reopened their doors to the academic community due to the infrastructure issues. In this regard, the head of the education portfolio made a statement.
All the institutions have already started. In total, we have 21 sites. Of those 21 sites, we can say that only 7 sites are still pending to start, since they have not started due to infrastructure issues that need to be taken care of. We hope that soon, very soon, we will be able to say that we have 100% of the sites ready to provide educational services. By the month of August, at the end of August, we will be implementing a new strategy in which we will start to deliver school meals in the educational institutions on the days that the children attend school.
The Secretary of Education stated that her portfolio will continue to ensure compliance with biosecurity protocols within educational institutions.
Secretary of Infrastructure Abel Archibald spoke before the cameras of Teleislas News regarding the major floods that occurred yesterday afternoon during the heavy rains.
The images say it all. Through this video that circulated the social network yesterday, the flooded streets are evident. A mixture of rainwater and sewage, a situation that once again broke the silence of the community, who with great dissatisfaction made sure that the images were seen by all the inhabitants of the island. The sewage stood over the commercial sector, where most of the visitors pass through. In view of the facts, the Secretary of Infrastructure stated that until there is a stormwater management plan, flooding will be inevitable.
As long as San Andres does not have a storm drainage master plan, when there are torrential downpours, there will inevitably be downpours. The only way to avoid that, as we have been saying, is with a storm drainage master plan.
Regarding the sewage overflow, Archibald pointed out that it is criminal hands.
And today, thank God, we can present to the community that the critical points of storm drain, where there was a mixing of sewage that does not fall under the jurisdiction of the Infrastructure Secretariat, where I say that there are criminal hands that connect the sewage to the storm drain.
According to the head of the Infrastructure Department, the reaction of his office was immediate. He also called on the Environmental Corporation, Coralina, and the Secretariat of Public Services so that together with infrastructure, a detailed inspection can be developed and drastic action can be taken to deal with the situation. Likewise, the call is extended to the community in general not to throw garbage into the waterways and to restaurants not to deposit used oil in the networks.
And upon her return, Colonel Maria Elena Gomez gave a review to the public about the latest captures in the department.
Hemos tenido 7 homicidios.
We have had 7 homicides during the month of June and the month of July, and of these 7 homicides, we are telling the community that 6 of them have already been clarified. We have had 7 homicides during the month of June and the month of July, and of these 7 homicides, we are telling the community that 6 of them have already been clarified. We have the court orders, and many of them have been captured, and the last capture was made yesterday by the Sehin.
On the other hand, the colonel highlighted that more firearms have been seized in the department.
De la misma manera decirles que
in the same way, I want to tell you that the firearms with which they are causing the homicides are also being seized.
Colonel Gomez emphasized the high level of accidents that have been occurring with rented vehicles, with more than 13 cases of death in traffic accidents, for which prevention campaigns will be strengthened and controls with alcohol sensors to detect drivers in a state of intoxication.
And exclusively for this agency, Raisa Islanders woman publicly denounces the bad attention of a public transportation driver. She was offended and verbally abused yesterday afternoon.
Celine Wilson is a Rice Islanders woman resident of the island of San Andres. She said she is not a constant user of the public transportation, but in the middle of the downpour that embraced the island yesterday, she had no choice and was forced to use the bus service.
Through the situation yesterday, I had to take bus. Normally, I'm not bus rider, but I take a bus and I walk from Long here till Vecino. I take the bus. The whole time it was like sardine in a pan, coming down because the bus went full. Because me know like I live away south. So when I reached maybe 10 minutes before where I was going, I stopped and put on my raincoat because it was raining hard. And I never noticed that at the door something started to sound, and the bus driver answered me in a way where I really never like it.
While in the transportation vehicle about to arrive in the sector in which she lives, when she tried to put on the raincoat she was carrying to protect herself from the rain while reaching her place of residence, she was verbally offended by the bus driver. At that moment, Celine Wilson felt humiliated, offended, and hurt.
That Kobusan really try work with them here people, maybe the stress that they have, and all the stress what they have, and that thing they Peter from morning till night that they yes. Well, okay, got them stress. Make them work as I will. One time I give them a little course or one stress. I sit on the course that said attention to the ciudadanity, because they don't know if you attend to people and then just a bit aggressive with people is not the way.
For this reason, she called on the entity to take action to prevent these cases from happening again. For Wilson, it is extremely important that public transportation drivers provide a better service to the island population. Teleislas News tried on several occasions to obtain statements from the manager of the bus cooperative, but up to the beginning of this broadcast, it was not possible. However, the cameras of this news agency will remain open to any statement from the cooperative.
And the Corporation for the Sustainable Development of the Archipelago, Coralina, celebrated 20 years of the declaration of protected area of the two parts of the island.
The Coralina Environmental Corporation commemorates today the 20th anniversary of the declaration of the Johnny Key Regional Park and the Wood Point Mangrove Park as protected areas. The director of the environmental entity, Arne Britton, highlighted the importance of these sites for the Seafloor Biosphere Reserve.
Johnny Key, como lo mencioné, es una actividad de presión.
Johnny Key is a depressed activity which is in a strategic ecosystem that, whether it wants to or not, generates pressure on marine ecosystems. It is an obligatory turtle nest area. It is an area that has a very particular vegetation cover and has a very important beach ecosystem. It was declared a protected area since Old Point because it was the largest mangrove and much more necessary for its conservation. So the mangrove system has many ecosystem services. You may have benefits of the biosphere reserve. It is a cradle for primary production within the marine ecosystems. It is where fish begin their first reproduction. It is a cradle of fish and other fauna.
The Environmental Corporation invites the entire community of the archipelago to take care of these parts that serve as tourist attractions on the island.
And today, the Barrett community had the opportunity to receive cleaning kits thanks to the donation of different foundations.
In total, 100 families had the opportunity to receive these cleaning kits that include biosecurity elements as well as room and maps. This taking into account that they were one of the most vulnerable communities by the passage of hurricanes and the pandemic.
Durante la pandemia y después del paso.
Since the beginning of the pandemic and after the passage of Hurricane Iota, we have sought allies such as the Bolivar Foundation to impact the community in different ways. We managed to sign an agreement to serve the community in different ways. Among those is the delivery of cleaning kits. The idea is to reach different communities that were hit by the pandemic and those who were left in vulnerable situations by Hurricane Iota.
The foundation identified the vulnerable people in the sector of Barrick thanks to the community leaders. It is expected that the aid will also reach the municipality of Old Providence in the coming weeks.
And today, the flagship IRC Gloria opened its doors for the community of Old Providence to get to know this ship, ambassador of Colombia in the world.
Children, youth, and adolescents from the island had the opportunity to visit the ARC Gloria school ship for the first time, which is on its training cruise for the cadets of the Naval School Admiral Padilla.
At this moment, it is on a tour around different parts of the world, and one of the places we have destined to visit is our islands of Old Providence and Santa Catalina. At this moment, approximately 600 people from the school's community have already visited the ship.
During the visit, they learn about the naval traditions and the history of the flagship unit for the Colombian Navy.
They have the opportunity to learn how the cadets live, what activity the cadets do on board, what is the function and mission of the ship.
Some shared about their experience.
It was nice because it's a way how we can connect from show and boat with all the next realities when they're around. The boy when going to explain, they're going to tell you how they come from the spot and how everywhere where they go, they're going to show them like, they're going to give them like some kind of emblem and they're going to give them some remembrance, and all the remembrance they're going to show us.
The children then they get to experience something different and they're really excited because it's something where they always hear about the Bouquet Gloria but they never yet see it, they never yet be on it, and really they enjoy it.
Muy bien, me encanta. Ojalá.
Very nice. I loved it. I wish I could live in here. What did I like? What I liked the most was the buffet.
What do you see out there? What they had on?
Music. Then we got restaurant, 2 anchor.
How you like the boat?
Yeah, I like it.
And why you think we're good to go out there?
Because I'm new experience.
Tomorrow the ship will sail to the Dominican Republic and will arrive in Cartagena in August.
And tomorrow, a series of simulation exercises will begin in order to improve the response capacity and provide the necessary conditions in case of cyclonic activity.
The National Unit for Risk Management and the International Cooperation Agency USAID have been accompanying the departmental and municipal risk management councils in the development and updating of emergency response instruments for the territory.
Se ha hecho una actualización del plan de respuesta nacional.
The National Response Plan to Tropical Cyclones has been updated, which is also reflected in the Departmental and Municipal Territorial Order, Protocols for Tropical Cyclone Warnings, and these instruments are to be validated through simulation exercises that will be developed in the archipelago during the week of August 2 to the 6th, which will allow us to improve the response conditions.
These works are done in order to prepare the authorities through tabletop exercises and the community through simulations on the streets, which will be programmed for the future.
This was established through a work plan in which training exercises and technical assistance exercises are being developed, and these simulation exercises will facilitate the development of a simulation exercise in the future, together with the community, once the document is organized and validated, which will result as the approved response plan for the territory.
The formulation of these instruments will be the model to follow in case of another emergency caused by a hurricane.
In today's Community Chronicle, we want to pay tribute to those who keep the community informed with their work, the journalists.
Emiliana Bernard, current manager of the regional channel, arrived from 2007 to 2009, making the first programs and supporting the informative team when it was an appendix channel of Inravisión, and returned in 2015, where she remains until today.
When I finished my studies and returned to San Andres in '88, I started my first internship. Everything in communications was radio. The stations that existed at the time in Todelar, where I started with Samuel Duque, father and son, to work and make the first steps in Old Providence as a correspondent. Then came the time of the newspapers, which were more established and more constant. I remember the Hiro Kompas newspaper very well, until we reached the journalism of the last 20 years, where we started to see a lot of radio, written press, and the development of television began, and now we have the alternative media. Before, we were the same 4 or 5 that worked here and there and wrote in the newspapers. Even as correspondents, we had to work. But now there is another dynamic with a new generation in the media, and that is very important.
Anwar Salcedo took his first step in Radio Morgan at the age of 17, going through all different positions and becoming one of the most recognized sport narrators on the island. He shares some anecdotes.
In 1995, I was doing a music program on Radio Morgan. There was a national basketball championship here, and they were going to bring a man from Cartagena to narrate, but he couldn't come. So Mr. Duque told me, Anwar, the transmission is sold out and I don't want to lose the money. Would you accept the challenge? And even though I had never broadcasted basketball before, I told him I will accept the challenge. I was narrating in the middle of the stands cheering for the San Andres team, and I remember that some gentleman lifted me up with some sombrazos. It was because I was saying, up Islands, up San Andres, go Islands, go, go, go.
Felix Heredia, who lies behind the microphones of RCN, comments on a difficulty that recent graduates of journalism have on the island.
A young journalist graduates from the university and starts his activity as an independent journalist. Then, apart from being a journalist, he has to be a salesman, a collector, a customer service advisor, a press officer, a number of situations that they do not teach you at university.
A day to commemorate the efforts of those who punctually bring information to every home.
To our colleagues, old and young, and even those in training, happy day.
Happy Journalist Day.